Chris Brown, Buffalo Bills insider for a little mood of what's going on in Buffalo. Chris, Roger Weiland, good morning.
How are we doing?
I'm good, Chris. Thanks for a few minutes. I guess the question and what keeps circulating here around the Bills is that this is a must-win game. You know, week 2 of the season, a must-win for Buffalo. Are you in that camp?
You don't want to go 0-2. I think that's for sure, and you don't want to go to 0-1 in the division in your first division matchup as well. Not to mention the fact that this is a Thursday night game. You thought the hangover for 2 days was bad coming out of week 1. You certainly don't want to be thinking about starting the season with 2 straight losses and not playing for another 10 days.
Well, what does it mean for the Bills? I mean, they lose it, they go to 0-2, and then does the fan base really getting wound up over Rex Ryan? And I mean, or how about the ownership? Or where does the ownership stand on Rex right now if this thing falls apart?
Well, they've been resolute in continuity is going to be their approach. I think we've seen what change has brought the Bills over the better part of the last 16 years, and that's no playoffs. So to keep, cycling through coaches, blowing the thing up and changing it again, it really hasn't gotten them anywhere. So I think they'd be more inclined to kind of stick through it. I'd be surprised if Rex was shown the door this year. I think it would take something like a 2-14 season or a 3-13 season for that to even be entertained.
Chris, Zach By hanging out with Roger this morning in studio. What's the answer for more production on the offensive side of the ball for Buffalo? Because what we saw this past Sunday was one of the worst offensive performances I've seen of any team in recent memory.
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts up front. I think the offensive lineman will be the first to tell you they got beat at the line of scrimmage. Pass protection was not up to snuff. They weren't able to reset the line of scrimmage in the run game. Quite frankly, they just ran into a Ravens team that was they just brought the intensity to the field, and the Bills weren't ready for it. And, the subject was brought up coming out of that game because Rex was very careful not to expose too many of his starters to preseason action for fear of injury. Because injury was an issue going into last season. They went through 5 running backs, they went through 5 receivers, and that largely compromised their offensive plans last year. And LaShawn McCoy was half the running back he usually is because he had a hamstring injury all year long. So Rex took the opposite approach this year and sat a lot of his starters who pretty much only played, I would say, the equivalent of half a preseason game in terms of total snaps. And I'll be honest, they looked rusty in week 1. And they weren't ready and tuned up for regular season game action. So, yes, they were all healthy coming in, but performance-wise, it wasn't a tight performance. So I think Rex admitted that he's going to kind of revisit that again and try to find some happy medium somewhere because they just weren't ready to battle in week 1.
Talking with Chris Brown, Buffalo Bills insider, Bills Jets tomorrow night in Buffalo. What's the inside telling you on the status of Sammy Watkins?
Well, he pretty much said on Monday, I'm definitely playing on Thursday. It's a situation that they've evaluated, looked at, and it's their contention that, Sammy's good to play. It's just going to be a matter of managing this foot that, is coming out of surgery and, a Jones fracture, especially with wide receivers, has a high rate of recurrence in terms of presenting issues. It did for Des Bryant. It did for Julio Jones. And now it looks like Sammy Watkins is going to have to, manage this thing for the rest of the season. So it wouldn't shock me if, his practice regimen is reduced through the week, every week, just to kind of have that foot as fresh as possible for games on Sundays.
I'm looking at some numbers here, Chris, with Ryan Fitzpatrick, who has faced Rex Ryan's defense 9 times as the quarterback of record. He's 1-8 against him and has completed 138 of 288 passes for a 47.9 completion percentage with 14 touchdowns and 11 INTs. That's not good.
No. Rex's defenses have had Fitzpatrick's number going all the way back to when he was the Bills quarterback. So I know as Rex said this week, I hope that trend continues. But at the same time, I think he has a healthy respect for Fitz and the way he gets the ball out quick. I think what works in the Bills' favor is, Fitzpatrick is at his best when he has predetermined, targets coming off the snap. I mean, he pretty much knows where he's going with the ball. As a matter of fact, I saw a statistic that said that, Fitzpatrick was the quickest quarterback in terms of snap to release at 2.11 seconds on average. That was the fastest in the league last week. And that's kind of his trademark. He gets the ball out fast and lets his receivers do stuff after the catch. The problem is when you're facing a Rex Ryan defense, it gets so confusing and so confounding with all the different looks they throw at you that you hesitate for that half second. And then if you still throw it, sometimes it's into the arms of a Buffalo Bills player instead of one of your own receivers.
See how it plays out tomorrow night. Chris Brown, Buffalo Bills insider, thanks for a few minutes here in Albany on Big Board Sports.
You got it.
Thank you, Chris. Good job there. And